Welcome, everyone, back to the next episode of C2MCI's the EDII Catalyst podcast. We've been on a few months break, so it's good to be back for a special summer edition. For any new listeners, I'm your host, Dr. Emily Albright, and in this podcast series, we explore topics of equity, diversity, inclusion, and indigeneity in STEM, featuring guest speakers from diverse backgrounds and perspectives, discussing their lived experiences, as well as providing maybe some tips and resources on how to create more inclusive and equitable environments. Through this, we hope to inspire you to become a catalyst for change in your own communities and workplaces. So today, I'm very excited to have Dr. Josephine Tsang, who is currently the Executive Director of the Chemical Institute of Canada and a Queen's alumni. We are honored to have you here today to join us for the conversation and kind of tell us a little bit about your experiences in chemistry and to where you got today. So welcome, Josephine. How are you today?
Thank you so very much for the warm welcome, and I'm doing really, really well. And thank you so much for taking the time to have me on this podcast. Really excited about it.
I know we've been trying to get you on here for a little while, so we're glad it's finally happening. So, as always, we like to start off with our guests. Can you tell us a little more about yourself and your journey in STEM to kind of how where you got to where you are today?
That sounds great. And before I begin, I would like to share that my pronouns are she, her. My home is Calgary, Alberta, and Calgary is also called Muskinsis by the Indigenous peoples of the land of which I currently live. Little bit about myself. My parents had sent me from Hong Kong, a population of 6 million people, to a very tiny farming community, population of about 2,000 people in Canada, on my own when I was 13 years old. So essentially, I lived without my parents ever since I was 13. And to be honest, this really, really has had a huge impact on the way I think, on the way I live, on the way I see the world and solve problems. In terms of, how I got into to chemistry, I really, really owe a deep gratitude to my high school teacher, high school science teacher, Mr. Hurley, as he taught chemistry. Um, you know, in the past, it would have been more of a smart boys only subject with such passion that I couldn't help but to fall in love with chemistry. And my husband Dexter is totally aware that I fell in love with chemistry even before I met him, and he's definitely okay with that. And I wanted to have a chemical reaction named after me, like the JT reaction or the Sang reaction mechanism or something like that. That hasn't happened yet, and maybe I'll look to all of you to give me a hand to get that one day. Uh, all jokes aside, I went on to pursue my doctoral degree in physical organic chemistry, specialized in decontamination of chemical warfare agent under the guidance of Professor Stan Brown at Queen's University. Um, I worked really hard, received 4 postdoctoral fellowships during my postdoc. Yet I left, at the time, a very promising academic research career and pursue a career in the oil and gas industry in Calgary. Worked as an environmental scientist, an R&D manager, and also spent some time doing some business development. And as my career progressed, I wanted to share science in a more impactful way by making advanced science topic a little bit more accessible, relatable, and relevant. So I was very fortunate that I got a chance to taught liberal arts at a local university, develop my own curriculum based on current events and what one would find on Globe and Mail. At the time, I thought that was such a cool thing, and then I realized how much work there was to do that. But that was very rewarding, and it was very rewarding, I would say. Also spent a number of years working at a local science center, um, talking about how to talk, appreciating how to talk about climate emergency to grandparents of the world, all the way to a young 6-year-old or 5-year-old child. Just before COVID, I was hired as the CEO for a charity to support newcomers. So during the pandemic, my staff and I helped new Canadians from at-risk socioeconomic backgrounds build capacity to find meaningful employment, combat isolation, and finding ways to care for their families. At the same time, I also led a full-scale brand and strategic renewal, um, and aligning the organization's goals and missions with the 17 UN SDGs. And looking back, I would say that was probably one of the toughest positions that I've ever held because um, helping helping newcomers, managing COVID with language barriers, with financial barriers, all the barriers. I think that was, I would say that was the most humbling experience that I've ever had, and it was tough, yet it was very rewarding. Fast forward to today, I have the immense privilege of being the executive director and leading the Chemical Institute of Canada, a national organization that supports chemists, chemical technologists, and chemical engineers across Canada. And at the heart of the organization are our members, whether you are students, early career researchers, educators, professionals in not-for-profit or not-for-profit, for-profit or not-for-profit. And I would say that members are really shaping the future of our field. And that's who I am in a nutshell. And my puppy, she's not really a puppy anymore. She's 4 years old. She's still napping. So that's my husband and I and our puppy spend a lot of time together.
That's great, Josephine. What you have such an amazing resume of in your path of all the different things you've done. I don't even know where to start with everything. Maybe we'll take it back a little bit to where because you kind of touched on this that one of your high school teacher, Mr. Hurley, played a big part in your role. Can you discuss a little bit about I am a big family person. I currently live away from my family as well. They're in New Brunswick, Canada, and I can't imagine leaving home. Even now, I struggle being away from family. How did you approach that, being 13-year-old, coming to Canada, and then setting up this very successful career for yourself? So maybe we'll take it back to the kind of that high school time, that time when you first moved here. What were the challenges and what really got you through and kept you so positive and optimistic through that time?
Going back to my high school days, when I first moved to Canada, 13 years old, um, English was really my second language. And so I saw chemistry, all the chemical equations, chemical formula. It made more sense. It made more sense to me than English. And I am forever grateful for to my high school teacher. And when I first moved to Canada, I also stayed with my host parents. So my host father was also a chemist, so Mr. McCormick as well. And so I had two really, really strong male mentors growing up. And I just didn't know anything else other than falling in love with chemistry. Um, and I would say because Provost is such a tight-knitted community, it's only 2,000 people. And I'm gonna date myself a little bit. Back in the day when I first moved to Canada, we didn't have Google. We didn't have electronic dictionary. Or at that time, I think electronic dictionary just came out, so it was like so expensive at the time to get one. And I used to carry an Oxford dictionary. I'm trying to think of a book that would be like this thick, and I wasn't and still not very tall. I would carry this Oxford dictionary in my backpack and walk to school. And I think the Provost community really came together to help me thrive and succeed. And if I didn't know how to spell community, when I was 13 years old, I definitely felt what um, what community means, and I am grateful and fortunate that I can carry this forward to, I'm 40 some years old now, many years later, that I still hold community near and dear to my heart, and I bring it to work at CIC. I see all of the member as my community, a part of part of our community. I should say it's not mine. It's our community, and we have the passion and responsibility to make it as rewarding as inclusive as possible.
I think that's a great thing to touch on is not only family, but community is a big part of that. And I think community can be a very broad term. It can be the sense of where you are physically, but it can be, like you said, kind of like the CIC. You would build that community, I think, in research groups, having that support system in place, whether it be your research group, your university, whatever institute you're at. I think it's really important to everyone's success to have that sense of community and a really important aspect of EDI. So, considering I think you've definitely taken based on your career path and the different things that you've already discussed with us, and the mentors who influenced you, how have you taken that now and used that to help support the next generation of diverse scientists?
I would say there are maybe different aspects that I can look at, and for one is I recognize that I'm very fortunate to be in a position that I can help move things forward. And I recognize that I don't know everything at all. And so I will lean on my team, the community, to provide suggestions and guidance to me. And as mentioned, I'm in a fortunate position where, if there are certain projects, there's certain initiatives that folks want to try out. I will try my very best to make sure that some of these initiatives can see through. Of course, there could be different perspectives that I have to think about, whether financially the organization or the team can provide, or people support. At the end of the day, I would like to think that, as long as it is something that is advancing the community, and making the community more inclusive and diverse. I'm almost certain that I would like to say yes. It could be that it might not be a yes, or that we can do it right away, yet we'll try to find ways to make things happen. And I'm grateful to have this opportunity.
Yeah, I think you have a very unique opportunity being a leader of a huge organization like CIC is. You do really have a platform to be able to help shape those conversations and science around EDI. Um, can you talk about some of the initiatives maybe at CIC that you have helped kind of promote uh, to the scientific community within CIC? Or
Yeah,
what are you using your position, I guess, to help some of those initiatives?
that's a really great question. I would say starting internally, on the CIC, on the national team. Um, we are continue to find ways to make sure our policies are as up to date as possible. So we are in the process of finalizing workplace safety, anti-bullying, and anti-harassment policy, that so that everyone, whether it's someone working on the national team, so my team who supports uh, um, the institute, or whether it would be volunteers, whether it will be board members, whether it will be general members. I on behalf of the organization, I would say, that we would like to make sure that everyone feels that they're safe whenever they interact with the organization, inward and outward. So that's one thing that I am working closely with the board members, and again, grateful that the board members are very on board on this. So that's one. In terms of on more on the community level, we have we continue, the national team continues to work with the wide group to advance anything related to EDI. We working alongside with experts in the field. We have accessibility policy in place for the conferences on the CSC side, and we'll continue to work alongside with the counterpart on the chemical engineering side, so CSCHE. We am proud to say that we have a Pride group established on CIC, and there's also going to be another group that will be coming online fairly shortly. It's still under works. However, I'm excited to share that we have folks putting up their hand and say, they wanted to be involved. And my job is very easy, is to make sure we have resources in place and try to provide as much support as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And I think when you're leading a big team like this, there is the multi levels. You have your internal team. Actually, even you can take it to yourself, what you're personally doing to kind of be a leader in that sense, then bringing your team on board and then expanding your team to all the trickling down to the community. And I think an important aspect of that is how you tailor your message to those different stakeholders. And I think too, throughout your career, you've been a postdoc, then you worked in industry, and now you're did some charity work, and now at the CIC. In my experience as well, when you talk to different groups of people, you do have to tailor your message, and I think that's really important from an EDI aspect, but also just how we get science out there and how that communication. So what are some of the strategies that you've used throughout your career, um, to tailor your message to those different stakeholders, whether they be policymakers, general public, or underrepresented groups in STEM?
Yeah, and I would say I'm very fortunate that I've had a fairly diverse professional background. So um, it's really about, and I think everyone in this virtual meeting room would definitely appreciate. It really depends on who you're talking to, who your audience might be, and try to capture their attention in the first 15 to 30 seconds during that conversation. And I can share that I had my fair share of practice for sure when I was in my oil and gas days. Being a PhD chemist, having an opportunity to really go to the field and wearing hard hats and safety, all the safety gear and everything, and having to talk to field staff about what are they looking for, what do they need in terms of products. It really gave me a different perspective on, they might not really care about what the half-life is. They just need to know that it's going to work at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and that it's going to take, hypothetically 15 minutes to finish their job. So just learning to appreciate how to frame the question, or sometimes it's not about asking detailed questions, sometimes it's about asking open-ended questions so that they will share their opportunities and most of the time challenges. And it's up to us as scientists to figure out, so what does that really mean in the lab side of things, and communicate back to them. So again, it's really knowing your audience, and also another component that I learned to appreciate is that back in 2019, I still think I'm brave. that I put up my hand and ran for public office in 2019. And so I ran in Alberta for a political party um, that might not be as popular in Alberta. So when I got a chance to canvass with volunteers, opening the door, like door knocking and have people opening the door, and really, as soon as they opened the door, I had maybe about 5 seconds or so to really decide um, what might be the message that I wanted to share. And if I knew that we might not be aligned on the political component, is then how do I use the remaining, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever that might be, to find common ground. And that really uh, put my communication um, into a test, I guess. And if I didn't know how to do it before that, I definitely needed to know how to do it right at the door, and can be continue to be diplomatic, be presentable, and be all the things. And that has taught me huge lessons, and again, forever grateful for that experience.
I think there's the other side of that too, of you needing to be able to make sure you have those 5 to 10 seconds to capture them when you get those few minutes. But the other part of that, I think that you didn't directly say, but I think comes with this is listening to what the people are saying and needing, and then being able to, you kind of said this, and then interpret it. Okay, so what are they telling me, and how does that actually translate to what I need to do for them? And I think that's an important thing for making inclusive research environments as well, is it's not always us, just not us, but people who are making decisions about these policies or trying to make things more inclusive, just deciding. You need to listen to what the people who are struggling with, to then make those change. And I think that's a skill that people learn as well, is how to actually listen and take that information and make good positive change. So I'm just taking me a note on the time here. We are getting close to the end of our session. So I'm going to ask, so audience, you can start to think if you have a few questions for Josephine, and I'll end with what would you like your final message or key takeaway that you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I would maybe I have a few, if that's okay.
That's
I
always
would
okay.
say I'm fortunate that I'm in a position that I where I'm at, and I will borrow a quote from Michelle Obama, one of my idols for sure. Is that when you have worked hard, when all of us have worked hard, done well, walk through that doorway of opportunity, that we do not slam that door behind us. We reach back to help our friends, and we reach back to help everyone around us. And I try to keep that as my North Star. So that's one. And um, life is more than just chemistry, more than chemical engineering, and that your mental well-being really, really matters at the end of the day.
That's great. Thank you so much, Josephine. Okay, so now we'll turn it over to our live audience. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Doesn't always have to be a question. Sometimes people just like to join the conversation.
Sure. Hi, Josephine. Nice to see you again. So you mentioned that you were doing a lot of charity work for a period, and that you had sort of transitioned out of chemistry and into that. My sort of question is, what was the biggest change going from working in that charity sphere and then returning to the field of chemistry? What was the largest shift for you making that transition back?
Perhaps might be what might be what defines as success, or what might be defined as impact, and that requires, a little bit of soul searching internally, on my side, and of course on the work side, it's making sure that understanding for the lack of better term, expectations of what I'm supposed to, or we as the team can deliver and support the community. So I would say going back, it's more about what does success look like for myself and for the team.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Thank you, Eden. I think following up here too, just touching on the diverse background, I think it's an important thing for all our listeners to remember is to take opportunities as they come and don't be afraid to kind of step a little bit out of your comfort zone, but also always just kind of go with if it's something you enjoy and are passionate about, then it's always a good direction to go in. I think that would be kind of one of my messages to leave everyone with. Okay, does anyone have maybe one more comment? Farnaz, yeah.
Hi. Hi, Josephine. It's really nice seeing you again. I'm Farnaz, a chemistry department. I hope you remember me from Bader City. Yeah. Nice to meet you again. Yeah. So thank you so much for visiting us and sharing your story and experience with us. I have a question about basically I'm asking for advice on how, and basically based on your experiences, how we can better take advantage of the resources available at the CIC level, because I feel like sometimes there is a disconnect from a department level. For example, I'm familiar with Wide Group. I know, for example, at Queens, someone from chemical engineering is a representative of Queens, but on a more active level, how we can leverage these resources and work together to build them, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. On the other hand, I know so many things needs to be customized to the environment. So any advice on that regard would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I definitely appreciate where you're coming from about sometimes there's so many initiatives that have been or are ongoing, yet you know, figuring out how to get involved is one. I would say if there's an opportunity, connecting with who might be part of those community groups and start that conversation there, and see how you can get involved. That's one. And I'm sure there are other aspects other avenues that you can explore, and would be happy to chat more after this meeting, just to make sure that you can share what your learning might be, because everyone has a wealth of knowledge that we can definitely tap into or share. And it's about finding the right platform. There's no right or wrong. They're finding a platform to share.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we always like to end with our fun question. So what is your favorite chemical element or molecule and why?
Oh, I'm a Stan Brown student, so I would have to say lanthanum all the way. Anything related to lanthanides. And one more thing is I'm not I know tea is not a chemical element, but I would say tea is definitely another another chemical I would say that I cannot live without.
I think that's a great thing. I always live by the theory of everything is chemistry, so anything could be really your choice. But that is great. Thank you so much, Josephine, for spending some time with us here today to share your story. We're very fortunate to be able to have you on, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good to see you all.